Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be this fun cherry nail set. I have been super into doing like fruit and berry style nails. As you may have noticed, I did some strawberry nails a while ago. I also did oranges, and now I am on to cherries. Cherries are super popular this season in all different areas, similar to like the strawberries, how strawberries and the character strawberry shortcake is kind of having a little bit of a resurgence in fashion. I've noticed that cherries are super popular too. I've been seeing a lot of cherry nail art and also a lot of cherry styles and designs and fragrances in the beauty space and in the fashion world. So I thought it would be super fun to join in on that trend. And I also love cherries, the fruit in general. I think they are so delicious. They might even be my favorite fruit. It's hard to think off the top of my head because I really do love fruit and I like all of them, but I feel like you just can't go wrong with a cherry, you know? I love cherries so much, so I wanted to do that here. So as you can see here, I did the this light pinky beigey color on all of the nails, and now I am going to mix a couple of these two glitters together for the nail set. I feel like I haven't used glitter in a while, so I was just kind of in the mood for that. And I had two of the glitters, but the lighter glitter, I could kind of tell that they were a bit sheer, and that once they got put on top of color, they would kind of like lose their individual color and kind of absorb the color behind them, and I didn't want them to get lost, so I mixed it in with the brighter pink, but I didn't want the brighter pink to be too bright, so, you know, I just mixed them in together so that I would get like a nice blend. And over here, I was just using a bit of like a random base coat that I have that I actually finished while doing this video, so it was just a random base coat from some local store. I'm not really sure what it was. I was just using it as a sticky layer to adhere the glitters to. So the base coat has not been cured while I'm sticking on the glitters. So it's wet, uncured, and just using this brush here to pick up the glitter particles and placing it down on the nails. So these two nails that I'm working on, the first one and the second one here, I'm not bringing the glitter all the way down because I'm going to be doing a bit of like an ombre white, kind of like a baby boomer French nail over it, so I didn't feel like it was necessary to bring the glitter all the way down to the bottom of the nail. That just felt like a waste. But for the two nails on either side, I am going to be doing glitter over the whole nail. And you can see that the glitter is quite subtle, and that's what I was going for. I didn't want the glitter to be too overwhelming and take over the whole design. It definitely was supposed to be like a background. I'm actually going to encapsulate all of these glitters here as well to do more art on top of it. So I'm using the Vettsy 5-in-1 top coat. It's like this nice runny gel that's great for encapsulations. And because this nail set is just on tips and it didn't really need any kind of structure because it's not on a real nail, I didn't worry about creating an apex or anything like that. I was just using it to do a nice layer over the glitter so that I can then go in and do nail art on top of it and not have bumpy ridges from the glitter on top of it. But I do go in and file the nails afterwards. I'm going to show a bit of that as well, just to make sure that everything is smooth, because I am going to be doing nail art on top of it and I want everything to be nice and smooth. But I love this top coat from Vettsy. It's great for encapsulations. It's nice and thin and affordable, and I think this is maybe like my third or fourth that I've gone through because it's really, really great. So again, just doing this light layer of encapsulation, not creating any apex. I'm just using light motion to keep everything in place. And then after I cure that, there were still a bit of glitters sticking off of the sides, and the top coat was just the slightest bit uneven because of how the glitters were laid. So I'm just using an alcohol wipe. This does dry as a non-wipe, so you don't actually have to use alcohol. There's no inhibition layer, there's no any sticky layer, but I felt like I just wanted to do it just to be sure, but there really wasn't any sticky layer. It's just, I guess, like a force of habit to just go in and remove that before filing. So I'm just going around the edges of the nail with the hand file to get rid of any glitter that might be sticking off the sides, and then filing over the top and just smoothing out the edges, because along the sides it was a little bit bulky, so I did want everything to be nice and smooth, and just evening everything out with this initial hand file. And then I'm using this softer, finer grit buffer over here to just smooth everything out so that it's nice and smooth for the nail art that's going to go on top of it. And I did that for all those, but it was just a little repetitive, so I didn't feel like it was necessary, and now necessary to show. And then I'm using some alcohol on this lint-free wipe to remove the dust particles. I do also go in with a matte top coat over that that I didn't show, but I did do that simply because I wanted a smooth surface, and even though the buffer does create a nice fine surface, I just wanted to have that layer of a top coat between all the art layers, essentially, so that if I mess something up, or if I want to redo something, or I want to remove something, I don't risk ruining the design and all the groundwork that was done under. So I'm using this cute little square, this little cube shaped sponge, and using some of that white gel from Vettsy and creating this like soft baby boomer ombre down the nail, and then going in with a base coat over that, again to protect the design in case anything happens. I actually end up, so over here you can see I'm using red gel polish, and I do actually end up wiping off my initial designs. And I didn't want to risk staining the white gel polish with the red, because I knew that if I needed to remove something, which I ended up doing, I didn't show it in this video. I kind of cut out my mistakes because I felt like it was, I don't know, it just didn't feel necessary to leave them in. But let me know if that's something that you're interested in seeing for future videos. Like, do you want to see where I've messed up and had to fix my mistakes? Or do you rather just want to see like the perfect or the better final image in the end? But anyway, like I was saying, the reason why I did that base coat over it was to protect that white gel, because I knew that if I had to remove something, especially with this bold red pigment, it would stain the white and then it would ruin the whole design. So I'm just using this bright red that I showed from Vettsy and hand drawing these cherries. This was a lot harder than I expected. My biggest issue, and it wasn't so much an issue with this nail, but it was the second nail that I did this design on that I had the biggest issue. For some reason, the cherries were coming out so much larger than I had planned. You can see that they're taking up a lot of space on the nail, and my initial design plan was to have them smaller and not take up so much space. I even used a tiny fine little brush, and yet somehow they just ended up looking and coming out a lot larger than I expected. So I did have to redo it a few times just because I was getting my proportions a little messed up. But I'm using this liner gel from Glam. It's this bright green. I love it, and I'm just using it to create the stems and the leaves. And I wanted to add a bit more of these cute little cherries. So if you didn't want to hand draw the cherries like I did and struggled with, but that's okay, maybe you wouldn't struggle with them, you could definitely do easier cherries like this. You can do them larger or even smaller, or have the small cherries all over. Obviously you can design the nail however you like, but I think maybe doing like these smaller cherries with the dotting tool, which is a lot easier, would also be really cute all over. But I did want to have a larger image of the cherries to really just enhance the design and really just bring to attention that they are cherries. But it was just a lot more difficult than I expected. I didn't expect it to be as complicated. You could see how tiny the brush is that I'm using, and yet I still struggled somehow making the cherries take up a lot more space than I expected. But in the end, they came out really cute. I do like how they came out in the end. I like the final product. It was just a bit of time, and that's why I do suggest, when you're doing multiple layers of nail art, to do either a base coat or a matte top coat or a shiny top coat in between each of your layers, so that if you do have to take off a layer, or if you even have to file something off, you don't risk ruining your whole design, because that would be really sad if I had ruined this look here and had to redo the whole thing and fix the part that I had already done and been happy with. So I'm just doing the cherries here again. See, as you can see, they just ended up taking up a lot of space, but in the end I do like how they came out. I think because I'm using coffin shaped nails and they were tapered, as you get lowered to the tip of the nail, it gets thinner and thinner and thinner, obviously, and I think it just didn't take that into consideration when planning out the design. And the only way to have them like really sit next to each other and be really cute would have been to have them higher up on the nail, where by the cuticle, where it's larger and there's more space. So that's just something to take into consideration if you're doing like tapered nails, whether they're like almond or stiletto or coffin like this. Sometimes the tapering of the nail can actually affect your design in a way that you maybe weren't expecting. I do have that issue comes up again in the next part of the set that we're gonna do, where I am doing a checkered board design, and because the nail is tapered, getting straight lines over here, I struggled a lot getting these straight lines as well. And typically I'm okay with straight lines. I've gotten better. I haven't always been great at them, and of course the more practice the better it is. But I think one of my biggest issues with creating straight lines when it comes to nail art has been the tapered nail. So I mean, I love a coffin nail. I've been doing coffin on myself for a long time, and only recently did I switch to a more almond shape. But I do love a tapered nail on myself, which is why I've been doing nail art on tapered nails. I know a lot of people do like nail art and stuff on square nails, and it would probably be a lot easier to get straight lines on a straighter surface. So if you have any tips for that, actually feel free to leave them down in the comments, because I find that like creating straight lines or different designs is just kind of harder in a way when it's on a tapered nail. But I love the look of it, so I'm gonna keep using them and just keep practicing. So I created the straight lines down the center, or as straight as I could get them, and then went horizontal and tried to keep the boxes, like the checkers, as even as possible. And then I marked down which boxes were going to get colored in so that I wouldn't mess up the design. And when I marked them down, I didn't cure that in place, obviously. Doing that would have left like a bulge or like a bubble of the product. So kind of make sure that you're curing at the appropriate times. You want to cure after you do the lines so they don't get messed up, but don't cure if you mark them down, because you'll get that little bubble of where the product is raised. And now I'm just filling in these gaps over here. I think this was a really cute addition to this set. It kind of gives me like picnic vibes, like a really cute red and white checkered picnic blanket, or kind of like gingham, but not, or like plaid, but not being as complicated as that. And I thought it just really added a really cute summery vibe. And I am doing all this over a matte top coat, so you can't really see the glitter that is sitting behind the nail. But the reason why I did the glitter is so that they'll peek through after the set is done. So even though most of the glitter does get covered up in this set, especially with the ombre that we did on the previous nails and once the cherries are painted on top of them, and with this one, these nails over here, they kind of get covered up partially from the checkers. I think just having them subtly glittering in the background added a lot of interest and depth. It's just a small little hint of something special peeking out. And this set was not complicated. I mean, I struggled with doing the cherries, but there's no reason for you to actually struggle. If like hand painting is hard, you can always use the dotting tool like I said, or you can practice, or if you're really great at hand painting, it wouldn't be too difficult. But overall, the concept idea for this design was not complicated, which I really like. I enjoy sets and nail designs that are simple yet impactful, and I think this bright red color definitely adds a lot of drama to a set that is not too detailed. There's a bit of glitter, but it's not like there's anything super dramatic going on aside for the color, and I think that's a really fun way to add drama. I always find it interesting when people, like for example my sister and my mom, they are so scared to do bright colors on their nails. They always go for a neutral, they always go for a nude, and for me I find that so boring, because I find that my nails are a great way of like expression and art on a tiny little canvas, and it's a lot of fun, and I feel like it's such an easy way to just add brightness and color without doing any kind of permanent or more dramatic changes, because it's not like dyeing your hair that's a little bit more bold and a little bit more permanent. It's not like, you know, getting a tattoo that's more permanent. It's just an easy way to really add some brightness and drama to a look or to your life without having to be such a commitment. So I love bright colors and wearing bright colors. And then I wanted to add just the tiniest hint of a charm, because again, I feel like I haven't really been doing those recently. I've been doing a lot of hand painting and a bit of other designs, but I feel like I've been neglecting my glitters and my charms a little bit, so I wanted to add a bit of both of those into this set over here. And to highlight the charm over here, I didn't want to take away from it by adding any more gems. I felt like it really stood on its own. But to make it a little bit more interesting and to not have it just sitting on a plain background, I did this kind of like frame around it. And it was so interesting because I found myself like creating this like rounded shape on both sides of it to create this cute little rounded frame look to it. And I realized that like this is almost essentially like drawing a French nail, you know, the same shaped curve and smile line that a French requires. And somehow, I mean, you can still see it takes a bit of time for me to finesse it, and it ended up being a little bit crooked, so I had to fix it. And I do play around with it for a decent amount of time until I find it to be even enough to my satisfaction. But somehow, like, keeping that thought in mind just like made it easier. I don't know, it's almost like doing this was easier for me than doing a French, and I kind of have to retrain my brain a little bit, maybe doing a French nail, and just kind of like think of it in a different way, like, oh, I'm not doing a French, I'm just creating a circle, and then like maybe that'll trick my brain into not stressing out about it so much. But I do love how this set came out. I'm just going to finish off with a shiny top coat. I thought about doing matte because I thought the cherries would look really cool in matte, but I felt like that would really hide the glitters because they are already so subtle in the background. I felt like doing a matte top coat, you'd really just lose that impact. But here's the final set. I think it's so bright, it's so fun, it's so springy, and I really love how it came out despite the struggles. So let me know what you think of this set, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye!